So two things happened in July of 1973. Drumdums was born, and filming began on one of the most iconic horror movies of all time. I, of course, am talking about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Texas Chainsaw Massacre stars Marilyn Burns and is directed by Tobe Hooper. So guys, I've been wanting to change up my background quite a bit, and I'm always interested in doing outdoor types of settings. And what better movie to do that with than the Texas Chainsaw Massacre? And one scene that really grabbed my attention was at the end when Leatherface is chasing Sally in the woods. And so I thought, hey, why not do this review in the woods? Wouldn't that be cool? So here we are. And the Texas Chainsaw Massacre really is one of the most iconic horror movies of all time. And it was really the dawn of a new era. Because before Texas Chainsaw Massacre came out, horror movies weren't this visceral. They weren't in your backyard as often. You know, we were still seeing those science fiction type monsters. And Psycho was really the only thing before that that could take place in your backyard, but even Psycho wasn't as in your face as the Texas Chainsaw Massacre was. And really, this is a special movie. This is a movie that directors to this day harken back to. Even Ridley Scott, when he made the first Alien, he wanted it to be Texas Chainsaw Massacre in space. And what is so great about this movie is it makes no apologies whatsoever. It is so in your face. If you don't like it, tough. This is really a love it or hate it movie, and I'm not gonna lie, the first time I saw Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I was kind of put off. If you are not prepared for it, if you're not ready for it, then it can throw you off. So let's talk about this movie. In the early 70s, drive-in movie theaters were a big thing. I mean, there had been drive-in theaters before that, but the 70s was really the rise of the drive-in movie theater era. You had movies like Last House on the Left and Texas Chainsaw Massacre and so many other horror movies that were just really graphic and in your face. And what better a setting to watch these movies than the drive-in movie theater? And what I love about this movie so much is just the look of it. It's so grainy, so gritty, so dark. And it's not a movie that would suit digital filmmaking at all. It is suited for 16mm film. It is just dirty, and I love every second of it because the plot of this movie is dirty. It's a really simple story. You have a group of teenagers. They are on the road in Texas. It is in the middle of summer, and their van breaks down. And so they go to get help, and boy, do they go to the wrong house. First, let's talk about the violence in this movie. It is really just in your face, and it would probably shock you to know that there is very little blood in this movie at all. As a matter of fact, Tobe Hooper wanted to get a PG rating. Yeah, you heard that, a PG rating for this movie. And when the MPAA reviewed it, they really couldn't find one scene in particular that was rated R material, but the piece as a whole was so shocking that there's no way that it could be PG. But like I said, there's no blood except for the very end of the movie. And let's talk about that hook scene. The hook scene looks like it is bloody as hell, but if you really watch it, there is no blood. Originally, Tobe Hooper wanted to make the scene bloody, but in the end, he decided that if I don't show the audience what is scary, if I just show them the act itself of putting somebody on a hook, that enough will just shock the audience. And it worked. People, when they saw that scene, they thought they had witnessed something more than what they really actually saw. Also, I want to talk about the dinner scene at the end of the movie. At this point, Sally is really at her wit's end. And also the viewer is kind of exhausted and at his wit's end. And keep in mind, when they filmed that scene, they filmed it for 27 hours. There have been rumors of even more than that, because a couple of things had to take place on that day. They didn't have another day to shoot the scene. So all the food that was on the table started rotting. Also, Gunnar Hansen, who played Leatherface, really stunk to high hell because he had been wearing the same outfit for a month. So at this point, Marilyn Chambers was not acting. She was literally exhausted. And so when you see her screaming in that scene, It is real. She is not acting. She even said they had to refilm the last scene over when she jumps into the pickup truck because they didn't get it. So she had to come back, refilm the scene, and so when you see her reaction in the back of that truck, that is when she had, in her words, lost her mind. Lastly, let's talk about Leatherface. There's a lot of debate on Leatherface and if he is actually a slasher. And I think he's really not a slasher because the definition of a slasher in my mind is somebody that stalks victims. Leatherface really just wants to be left alone. The victims actually come to him and he is actually frightened, which makes him one of the most interesting killers. You know, he has the mind of a child, but all he knows in his world is violence. And I think that's one reason why the character still resonates so strongly today. So in the end, guys, I could talk about this movie for an hour, I really could, but I'm gonna cut it short. I'm just gonna tell you, this movie is a Trapped on an Island. This is a classic. I mean, if you think of 5 horror classics, Texas Chainsaw Massacre is definitely one of them. Need I say more? So anyway, guys, what are your thoughts on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre? And thank you to all who wanted this review. So I kind of wanted to make this one special and, you know, set it in the woods. And I really had a blast doing this with you guys. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to my channel, follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and Letterboxd, and Drumdum out.